Alright, welcome back to the Blender 3 Docwalk. This document is on bounding box center as far as using a dynamic called the bounding box, or a bounding box, as the pivot point. So let's jump right in. Okay, to demonstrate this one, we're going to lay down, actually we're going to take a top view and we're going to duplicate this this cube a few times here. So let's, we're just going to do 4. Or have 4 cubes. So 1, 2, and there's 4. Okie dokie. Okay, so let's take a close look at this. We can see in the center of each cube we have the center point for each of the cubes. And it is this center point that dictates how the bounding box construct sort of works. So if I go up here to my pivot point selection and I go down to bounding box center and I select one of the cubes, I'm going to hit R for rotate. You'll notice that that my rotation cursor, the dotted line goes all the way to the center of the cube, to the center marker there. However, I am going to hit shift spacebar and then spacebar a second time to select my 3D cursor. So shift spacebar and then spacebar. And I'm going to set my 3D cursor, I'm going to set it over here on the corner of this cube. So there's the cursor. Now I'm going to go up to object and I'm going to set my object's origin to where the 3D cursor is. So I'm going to go down to set origin and I'm going to do origin to 3D cursor. Now you can see that the origin, or right, the center, or what was the center of my cube, right, the cube's origin, is now located up here at the corner. Now I'm going to hit R for rotate, and remember we are still using the bounding box as our pivot point. So R for rotate, and now it's rotating around as it was previously, but it's only in a different location, the origin of my cube. So the documentation kind of makes this a little confusing, and I would like to clear this up a little bit here. And how we're going to do this is I'm going to add, actually what I'm going to do first is I'm going to hit Shift C, which is the same as center cursor and frame all, right here, Shift C. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring my 3D cursor back to the origin of my entire scene, right? And it's just going to recenter my view to make sure everything that I've got placed on the scene is within my view. But the more important part is that it will be centering the 3D cursor. So Shift C. Alright, there it goes. Nice. Back to the center where it belongs. If we move around, we can see that it is perfectly located at the nexus of all 3 axes. So I'm going to hit 7 again, my number pad 7, to get a top view. Bring it over here. I'm going to zoom back in one more time. And I am going to add a plane here, and I'm going to move it a little bit, grab it, move it kind of to where, so that its origin is where my cubes meet. So that's a good place right there. Also, I apologize for all the noise. It's also the reason I haven't been able to get too many videos out lately. We've got all sorts of construction going around. So yeah, had a litter of 7 puppies born, and now it's construction. So I just decided to just keep going. I will try to edit out as much noise as possible. But yeah, there will be puppies whining for the mama. There will be hammers getting pounded and drills going off and walls getting knocked down. So just bear with me. I will try to clean up the audio as much as possible and get as many of these videos done as possible, because time is of the essence. So I just thought I would kind of drop that in there to let everybody know. Okay, so we've got our plane down. Okay, as I previously demonstrated, when you have a single object selected and you're using the bounding box as your pivot point, the pivot point, or the place at which it will pivot, is the origin of that object. Now this will make a little bit more sense in a second, because that really sounds like object origin pivoting, doesn't it? Okay, so now we're going to select all 4 of these cubes. We're going to leave the the plane alone. Actually, let's grab that plane, and I'm going to just bring it down a little bit, down the z-axis, so it's just underneath, and I'm going to size it up to about the borders of these 4 boxes. Now I'm going to go into X-ray mode with Alt-Z really quick. Oops. Where'd I go? With Alt-Z. There we go. And now I'm going to select all 4 cubes. So all 4 cubes are selected. The plane is left alone. Okay, now I'm going to take a top view. Now notice that the origin of this top cube is still up in the corner. Okay, this is important because this is really going to show you how this bounding box thing actually works. Okay, and these other 3, the origin is where it should be, or where the default location, right? Okay, now we're going to go back to a side view. I'm going to grab that plane, and just the plane. There she is. And I'm going to go back to the top view again. Now I'm going to do kind of like what the computer is doing, all right, with the plane. And this is how we're going to do it. So we know that the origin of each box, even though we can't see it right now, actually, nope, that's not going to work. Okay, even though we can't see it right now, we know where the origins are, correct? Okay, so this, this corner up here, I'm going to leave that corner there, because what's happening is, let's lock it to Z, as it's kind of, let's pretend we're just this left side of the plane. Let's pretend that's that side of the bounding box. Okay, so the left side, this side of the bounding box is going to come in and stop the second it hits an origin of any of the objects that are in the selection. So because our top left box, because its origin is right up here, this line is going to come, and the second it hits this origin, it's going to stop. Clunk, stops right there. Then the same sort of thing is going to happen with, from the other direction. So let's say this side of the box is coming in, and now we're going to have to size it a little bit along the x-axis. Is going to come in, and don't worry, we're going to adjust for all this. So it's going to come in, and it's going to stop when it hits this point and this origin. Okay, and because they're about the same distance in, it's going to come in and just clunk, stop right there. You see what I'm saying? All right, so that's going to stop right there, and the other one's going to stop there. So in actuality, we're probably going to be halfway between these two, about like that. So now let's just move it over, grab it, pull it along the x-axis, and that looks about right. Okay, it's stopped here where these two origins are, coming this way. This one coming this way has stopped here because this one's origin is up here, and this one's origin is not involved in any of the sides coming in along the x-axis. Now we're going to bring the bounding box in, y-axis wise. Well, obviously this one's going to stop in the same place, because as it's coming down here, right, this plane, or this side of the bounding box is going to come down and then clunk, stop, because it hits that pivot, or that the origin of that object, which is right here. But just like the other side, or just like coming in from the X side, coming in from the bottom side of the Y, this wall of the bounding box is going to come in and stop about, it's going to hit this origin and this origin, and so it's going to stop right here. And so of course we can size and adjust for that by just simply coming halfway between those two. That should be good. Now I'm just going to grab it, move it up along the y-axis to right about where the bounding box would be. Now if this is correct, okay, when I hit rotate, when I select all four of the boxes and I hit rotate, we should have a rotational center right here. All right. Okay. So let's go ahead and test this. Keep your eye on this little spot. In fact, let's let's just put the 3D cursor right there. So we know we've got it marked, all right? Okay, looking at it from the side, I'm going to grab our boxes. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. Okay, we're going to have to reset that really quickly. Oh, come here, guy. All right, 3D cursor to here. Clunk. All right, now I'm going to change the box select, grab it from the side. Now we're going to grab our boxes. We're going to go back to the top view, and I'm going to hit R for rotate, and let's see if our prediction is correct. R for rotate, and it is. That is exactly where we are rotating at. Okay, so that is how the bounding box calculates the center of rotation, or well, I guess the pivot point, right? Okay, so I'm going to right click to just undo that. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, and now if we kind of go back to why the bounding box, you know, when you're dealing with just one object, and we're set to bounding box, and I hit R, why our rotation, our pivot point is set at the object's origin, even though it is not at the center of the object. That is because, right, we've got the left side of the bounding box coming in and then stopping right here. Right side coming in, stopping at right here, because you've only got one object selected, so you only have one origin that you're working with, right? And because it is orienting, the bounding box is orienting around origins, it's coming in until it hits an origin. We've got the top one coming in, stopping here at the origin, bottom one coming up, stopping here at the origin. We're literally ending up all in the same spot. We're ending up with all sides of the bounding box coming in and basically touching each other right here at the center, and that's why it is the pivot point when you're dealing with single objects. So, okay, so in edit mode, here, let's get rid of get rid of that guy really quick, and we're going to get rid of 3 of these. Let's do these 3. I'm going to turn off X-ray mode with Alt-Z again. I'm going to hit Tab to go into edit mode. Oh, after I select the cube, hit Tab, go into edit mode. Okay, now things here work kind of the same, but there are just a few differences. So as you know, in object mode, the walls of the bounding box come in and hit the origins of each object, correct? Here, the bounding box is going to come in and hit the vertices. So I'll show you what I mean by that. I'm gonna actually, let's just everything. I'm gonna select the cube and let's see here. I'm going to subdivide twice. Okay. So I'm in vertice selection mode right here, right? And just a reminder, you can change your selection mode with 1, 2, and 3 across your the top number row. So 1 is vertex selection, 2 is edge selection, and 3 is face selection. Okay, so I'm going to go into vertex selection mode, so I can select each individual vertex. And so in the way the vertex or the bounding box behaves is very similar to how it behaves with the origins, as I just said, but instead of origins, we're dealing with individual vertices. So as an example, if I select this vertex and this vertex, the bounding box is going to come in from the left and stop here, from the right, stop here, from the bottom, up and stop here, and from the top down and stop here. So we're going to end somewhere in between these two, probably about here. So if I tap R, there it is. Okay, and but when you're in edge or face selection mode, it still uses the vertices making up either that face or edge. So we're going to hit 2 to go into edge selection, and We're going to select that guy and this guy. Now, if I hit R for rotate, I'm going to have my rotation center come out of the middle here, because this is, right, it's coming up, stopping here, coming down from the top, stopping here. From the left, it's going to stop here. From the right, it's going to stop here. So obviously the middle of those two, or of those four walls, is going to be right here in the very center. And just to kind of illustrate that, let's go into face selection mode. I'm going to hit 3. Oh, what just happened? I went back to object mode. Okay. I'm going into face selection mode, hitting 3 to get into face selection, and I'm going to grab this guy and this guy. I'm going to hit R, and obviously the center rotation is going to be right there in the middle. But I'm going to do something I'm going to tweak something really quick. I'm going to go back to vertex selection mode by tapping 1, and I'm going to grab this vertex right here, hit G, and I'm going to just bring it in. I'm holding control down to get that incremental kind of step snapping. I'm going to hold control down. I'm going to bring it into about right here. So now that vertex is right there. So just to illustrate this point, going back into face selection mode, I'm not working from the center of the faces. I'm working from where the vertices are of that face. So if the wall comes in from, right, the bounding box wall comes in from the left, it's going to stop right here. Top is still going to stop right here, even though I moved that vertex from here to there. Selecting this and this together, my center rotation should still be in the middle. So let's see if that's the case. Tapping R, and there we go. Center rotation is still right there in the middle. So that is the pivot point. Okay, so that is using the bounding box center as the pivot point. That was that document. I will see you guys next time when we talk about using the 3D cursor as a pivot point. So again, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.